Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're in Hartland, New Brunswick, and I am walking on the world's longest covered bridge. But also home to covered bridge potato chips. More importantly, I love those. I'm headed over now to meet John, Barber at Courtyard Clippers. I can't wait to meet him and learn more about this community. Come on, let's go. Pleasure to meet you, and I'm glad to be out here in Hartland today,
Welcome.
home of the covered bridge. It is quite the spectacle.
It was the world's longest covered bridge, 1,282 feet.
Yeah, I bet it brings in a lot of people.
They come from all over the world by the busloads here.
Okay, and for the haircuts too, right?
Well, not by the busloads for the haircut, but I don't mind seeing any of them come.
Well, I think your shop's not too far from here. What do you say we head over and check it out?
It's just around the corner, man. Thank you.
All right, let's go. So Adrian, something tells me it's not your first time sitting down in John's chair. How did you guys meet? Are you both from Hartland?
Where are you from, John?
I came from Keswick Ridge, but we moved up here. My wife and I moved up here 14 years ago, and I'd met Adrian for the first time when I first came to work here. Let me tell you a story, that's what he'd say. And there was always a lesson in that little story. Brushing the shoulders off, do you remember telling me that? You don't want them to know or find out that they just came from the barber shop and they had hair all over their shoulders and their coat.
That's good advice, I would say.
I saw a fellow right out here. He just come out of the shop, and I just happened to be walking up behind him. I said, ho, ho, get back over there at that shop in time to finish the job.
There you go. Lessons well learned.
Are you from Hartland, Adrian?
I've lived in Hartland all my life. I was the first one to come to town in Hartland in 1935. The first baby born here in 1935. Seen a lot of changes.
1935, did you say?
That's right.
First baby in
First
Hartland?
baby in Hartland.
Wow.
For which I won a camera. When I first started cutting hair, Donnie Stewart was a salesman who sold insurance. So when Donnie Stewart wasn't busy, he would be in the barber shop. And Mr. Stewart says, oh, you're going to play baseball, are you? We said, yes, we're going to Centerville. And he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, I'll give you 50 cents for every home run you hit. Now, 50 cents was twice as much as I got for a week. So when the truck driver that was taking us up there heard this, he said, you hit that ball just as hard as you can hit it. And you run as fast as you can run, and don't you stop running until they get you out. Believe it or not, folks, and I've got proof from all the guys that went up there to play, I hit 6 home runs. That was $3. After the game, the fellow that drove us up there, he said, look, I'm going with you when you go to collect your money, because that guy will never pay you $3 for. You'll never believe you got 6 home runs. This guy just rushed in the door before I got there, and he said, Donnie, he hit 6 home runs. You owe him $3. Pay up. 6 home runs? You can't do that, he'd say. And the guy argued. He said he did.
Yep.
And of course, my dad was there. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he says, what are you up to? Anyway, he paid me.
You and your dad were cutting hair together at that point, right?
Yes, it was my first legal morning.
Gotcha.
When I was taking my barbering course, when I come home for the weekend, I would cut hair.
Yes.
Adrian, like all good haircuts, they do come to an end. How do you think John did today?
I think John did a good job. He's a good barber, and someday he'll be better.
So a beautiful day out here in Heartland. No better day for a haircut. What do you think, Nick?
Perfect day for a haircut, especially when it's being done by John.
Oh, thanks, man.
Is Heartland where you call home as well?
You could call Heartland home. It's not specifically where I'm from. I'm about 20 minutes north of here, but I'm actually from Upper Kent, which is above Bath, which is above Florenceville. But I mean, every community has their uniqueness. Like Florenceville has McCain's and Heartland has the world's longest covered bridge. So
What does Upper Kent have?
Upper Kent has me.
For such a small community or cluster of communities in this area, it's actually surprising, like two pretty big players, McCain, but we also have Covered Bridge here in Heartland as well.
Covered Bridge Chips, it's actually where I work and been there almost 7 years now. I'm the national sales manager there and very proud to be part of that company.
Well, don't tempt me because since I moved out here, I've been a fiend for Covered Bridge, ketchup specifically. So John, we made it. I appreciate the tour. It is my first time in Heartland, and yeah, I could tell it's, you know, maybe it's a home away from home for you. How long have you been cutting hair here?
I'm in my 9th year.
9 years.
9 years.
What did you do before you started as a barber?
Immediately before I was a barber, I was a funeral director.
How did you go from being in the funeral business to a barber? It's quite the contrast
It's quite
there.
a jump. I worked in a small funeral home, so that meant that I was on call all the time. It was taking a toll on my marriage. We wanted to have children. We couldn't have our own, so we were into the fostering, into the adopting. So it just wasn't going to work out when I was doing the amount of hours I was putting in. And I had to really think about at 40 years old, what am I going to do? And my wife and I were talking, and she said, well, you kind of like cutting hair. And of course, I cut a lot of hair as a funeral director, preparing the people to be put in the caskets and everything like that. So it was kind of something that I kind of always did, but I didn't really realize that I could make a living of it. So my wife, knowing me very well, bless her heart, she told me, why don't you be a barber?
So what's your favorite part about being a barber? What draws you to it?
The people, definitely the people. When I was in barber school, we called him Sensei, because that's what he wanted us to call him. He was a master barber, so we called him Sensei. And he told us any monkey can come off the street and cut hair, as far as the mechanics of it to learn to do it. But it's your way with people. He said that is what's going to make the difference, and he was right.
So with being a barber, you know, you are in many ways a therapist for a lot of people who sit down in your chair. So you're taking in that energy. You know, sometimes, as you mentioned, you take it home and you need to break or you need to decompress. In your old career, your past job as a funeral director, it's the opposite, but do you feel there was still an exchange of energy between you and the deceased?
When a person passes away, you can tell by their expression on their face, their body position, right? Like when somebody comes in and they've passed away and they look very reposed, they look very relaxed, you can tell that their death wasn't stressful, it wasn't agonizing, right?
Yeah, I feel maybe with barbers you're empathetic. I know I'm an empathetic person, and I'm always aware of the exchange of energy that's happening between people, interactions you have in the community. So I can only imagine it could be very great as a barber. Maybe someone who's high energy comes in and just, if you're feeling a little bit tired, they could pick you up.
Like Nick.
Yeah, or sometimes it's the opposite. Maybe the person's down and, you know, you got to put on your shield and help, you know, bring them up and not take too much of their energy in.
Right, or give them some of mine.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you had some characters in here today, and I'm glad to have met some cool people and meet you and see your shop and learn all about the city. And yeah, I'll definitely be back for sure.
You're welcome to come for a haircut, but you're just as welcome to come in for a visit.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your time, John. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, Jordan. It's a pleasure. Thank you.